Imagine giving the best of your heart to people who don't even give you the minimum of their respect. Imagine offering your warmth to places that stay cold no matter how brightly you shine. Here's the truth: your smile is a gift. Stop handing it out where it's treated like spare change. Today, let's talk about reclaiming your worth. The first key point is about understanding that value is not something you should constantly prove. It's something others should naturally recognize when it's genuinely there. Too many people spend their lives performing for acceptance, bending themselves into shapes that don't match their soul, and offering unlimited loyalty to people who can barely offer basic appreciation. When your worth is clear, you should not have to bargain for acknowledgement. You should not have to stage emotional presentations just to be seen. Real value is recognized in silence. It doesn't need a spotlight. And the moment you realize that, you stop auditioning for roles you were never meant to play. When someone values you, they don't weigh your worth against their convenience. They don't wait for the perfect moment to show you respect. They don't ration out their kindness as if it's a luxury they can't afford. They treat your presence with honor because they feel the impact you bring, your conversations, your empathy, your consistency, your heart. People who appreciate you do so without you having to push, persuade, or prove your significance. They're not blind to your qualities, they are attentive to them. And attention is one of the purest forms of respect. There is a painful truth many people avoid. If someone cannot recognize your value, your efforts will not open their eyes. You can give them your best, your patience, your heart, and they will still treat it as optional background noise. Not because you lack worth, but because they lack awareness. Some people are simply not equipped to see depth. Some are too distracted by their own narratives. And some prefer the comfort of taking your presence for granted because it costs them nothing. That's why proving yourself becomes a trap. You keep offering more, hoping they will eventually appreciate you while they invest nothing in return. Value becomes distorted when you place it in the wrong environment. A masterpiece hanging in a dim hallway will look ordinary to those who never learn to notice art. In the same way, your kindness, your loyalty, your emotional intelligence, these qualities can feel invisible to people who do not understand them. You could pour your soul into connections that remain shallow because the soil was never fertile enough to support what you bring. It's not about your worth being invisible. It's about your worth being misplaced. And misplaced value always leads to misunderstanding, mistreatment, or emotional exhaustion. When you stop trying to convince others of your value, you reclaim your emotional strength. You free yourself from the cycle of striving for validation that never comes. You begin to recognize that love, respect, and appreciation should flow naturally, not be wrestled out of someone. The right people don't need 100 reminders of your goodness. They don't need you to perform emotional acrobatics. They feel your presence, they respect your effort, and they reciprocate without hesitation. That natural reciprocity is evidence that they recognize your value, and that recognition is what makes all the difference. Your life changes the moment you shift from begging for recognition to standing in your worth. You start to attract people who see your depth without needing explanations. You attract spaces where your light is noticed, not ignored, and you attract relationships where gratitude replaces entitlement. The truth is simple. When people recognize your value, they don't make you chase them. They choose you with sincerity. And when they don't, you learn to walk away not out of anger, but out of clarity. The second key point is about understanding that your energy is a form of currency. And every moment you spend in the wrong environment is like paying a bill that was never yours to cover. People often underestimate how much of themselves they give away. Attention, kindness, emotional labor, time, patience, without realizing each of these is an investment. And like any investor, you have to evaluate where your resources are going. Some environments yield growth, clarity, and fulfillment. Others drain you, diminish you, or leave you emotionally bankrupt. When you begin to see your energy as currency, you stop giving discounts to people who haven't earned access to you. Most people are unaware of how subtly certain environments steal from them. A conversation that leaves you unsettled, a relationship that fills you with doubt instead of confidence, a workplace that thrives on chaos, leaving you constantly on edge. These are withdrawals, small, silent, consistent withdrawals that chip away at your inner balance. And because they don't happen all at once, you often don't notice the depletion until you're exhausted and confused. The places that drain you rarely announce themselves. They disguise the cost behind familiarity, loyalty, or routine. But energy always tells the truth long before the mind does. There comes a moment when you realize the spaces you keep returning to are not neutral. They are either nurturing you or draining you. There is no middle ground. Some people think they can simply endure toxic atmospheres, but endurance becomes expensive when it keeps you from evolving. If a place constantly requires you to shrink, silence yourself, or suppress your needs, that place is charging you far more than it's giving back. And the more you pay with your peace, the harder it becomes to recognize how imbalanced the exchange has become. What you call loyalty might actually be self-neglect. Every connection in your life should be evaluated by one question: does this space multiply my energy or subtract from it? Some people inspire you, refuel you, and help you remember who you are. Your spirit feels lighter around them. You think more clearly. You breathe more freely. Then there are those who drain you in ways that words can't fully capture. They leave you feeling smaller, unsettled, or emotionally off-center. The difference is not subtle, it is profound. And your life shifts when you start accepting that both types of environments exist and that not all deserve your presence. You must learn to treat your inner world the way financially disciplined people treat their bank accounts. No reckless withdrawals, no unmonitored leaks, no gambling with what keeps them stable. Protecting your energy requires boundaries, and boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They help you decide what enters your life and what must be kept out. The moment you take control of what you give, to whom you give, and why you give, you reclaim your emotional economy. Your energy becomes intentional, not accidental. Your presence becomes powerful, not diluted, and your peace becomes non-negotiable. The most transformative realization is this: you are responsible for where you invest your energy. Not every invitation deserves your acceptance. Not every relationship deserves unlimited access. Not every situation deserves your emotional bandwidth. When you become selective with your energy, you begin to attract people who respect your boundaries, environments that honor your growth, and opportunities that align with your purpose. Life stops feeling like a constant transaction and begins to feel like a meaningful exchange, balanced, purposeful, and deeply empowering. The third key point is about realizing that self-respect begins exactly where your tolerance ends. Because every time you allow something that hurts you, you quietly teach the world how to treat you. Many people confuse endurance with strength. They believe that putting up with disrespect is a sign of maturity, patience, or emotional resilience. But tolerating what breaks you isn't strength, it's slow self-abandonment. You cannot build a life of dignity while repeatedly swallowing situations that insult your worth. The moment you start choosing yourself over the comfort of others is the moment your self-respect begins to breathe. There is a dangerous misconception that saying no makes you difficult, demanding, or unkind. This mindset traps people in cycles of silent suffering, where they internalize their pain just to maintain peace. But peace built on self-sacrifice is not peace, it's suppression. Real peace comes from knowing you no longer betray yourself to keep others comfortable. When you raise your standards, you don't become hard to love, you become impossible to disrespect. The people who truly value you will rise to meet your boundaries. Those who don't were only interested in the version of you that required no responsibility from them. Tolerance is often praised as a virtue, but it becomes poison when it forces you to shrink. Every time you excuse bad behavior, justify someone's neglect, or absorb someone's disrespect, you erode your own sense of worth. You begin to normalize what should never be normal, and slowly you forget what healthy treatment even looks like. Tolerance is not noble when it costs you your identity. The truth is, you cannot love yourself and simultaneously tolerate what destroys you. At some point, you must choose which one you're willing to lose. Self-respect is not built through inspiration, it's built through decisions. Decisions to walk away from conversations that belittle you. Decisions to stop giving endless chances to people who weaponize your forgiveness. Decisions to stop bending your values just to keep someone from leaving. These decisions may feel uncomfortable, even painful, but they are the foundation of your emotional strength. Self-respect grows every time you choose discomfort over disrespect. And it grows even more when you realize that choosing yourself doesn't make you selfish. It makes you whole. Sometimes the hardest part of respecting yourself is confronting the fear of being misunderstood, left, or alone. Many people tolerate disrespect simply because they fear the emptiness that might follow if they stop. But loneliness is far less damaging than disrespect. Loneliness can be healed by growth, reflection, and new relationships. Disrespect, on the other hand, slowly teaches you to doubt your own value. It convinces you to settle. It convinces you that your needs are too much, your boundaries are unreasonable, and your voice is unnecessary. Many people fear detachment because they think it means shutting off emotion, becoming numb, or turning into someone unrecognizable. But true detachment is the opposite. It's not a closing, it's an opening. It's the moment when your heart stops trying to rewrite the truth and finally accepts what your spirit has known for a long time. Not everything and not everyone is meant to go with you. Detachment isn't about becoming hard, it's about becoming honest. When you detach, you are not denying the love, the memories, or the moments. You're simply refusing to let those attachments control your direction. Emotional attachment becomes unhealthy when it keeps you tied to what hurts you, drains you, or confuses you. Sometimes you cling to people because of history, not because of harmony. You hold on to situations because of comfort, not because of growth. Detachment asks you to separate what once was from what currently is. It gives you the courage to say, I can appreciate the role you played in my life, but I cannot keep sacrificing my peace to maintain a connection that no longer nourishes me. The most difficult part of detachment is the realization that some relationships survive only when you tolerate things that go against your own well-being. You begin to see how much you've been bending, adjusting, shrinking, or explaining yourself just to preserve the bond. This awareness can feel painful, even shocking, because it exposes the emotional imbalance you've been ignoring. But clarity is a gift, even when it hurts. Clarity shows you who supports your growth and who only supports your convenience. It reveals who values your presence and who simply enjoys your availability. With clarity, your heart stops negotiating with truth. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means recognizing that you can love someone deeply and still choose distance. You can care about someone's well-being and still understand that closeness is no longer healthy. You can wish someone the best and still walk away. Detachment is maturity. It's the moment you stop trying to force outcomes, fix broken dynamics, or carry emotional weight that was never yours. It's an internal shift where you move from I need this connection to be okay to I need to be okay even without this connection. That shift is where emotional freedom begins. There are places in life where your spirit simply cannot grow. Environments where your potential feels suffocated, your voice feels dismissed, or your identity feels compromised. The courage to detach from these places is one of the greatest acts of self-preservation. You begin to understand that staying somewhere just because it's familiar is not the same as staying because it's right. Growth requires space, space to breathe, space to evolve, space to rediscover who you are without the noise of expectation. Detachment creates that space. It's not running away from something. It's moving toward yourself. And the moment you embrace detachment, you reclaim your power. You stop clinging to what is fading. You stop fighting for what is resisting. You stop begging for what should flow naturally. Detachment doesn't close your heart, it protects it. It doesn't make you cold, it makes you wise. It doesn't erase your feelings, it organizes them. You finally begin to choose connections that don't require you to lose yourself. Through detachment, you learn that letting go is not the end of love. It is the beginning of self-respect. The fifth key point is about recognizing that your smile must match your surroundings. Because your smile is not just an expression, it is a reflection of your emotional truth, your inner warmth, and the authenticity of your spirit. Too many people force themselves to smile in environments that constantly steal their joy. They water down their light to make others comfortable. They offer kindness in places that return coldness. Your smile is not meant to be a mask. It's meant to be a mirror of how genuinely valued, respected, and seen you feel. When the surroundings no longer align with your heart, forcing a smile becomes an emotional burden rather than a sign of strength. A smile carries more weight than most people realize. It tells the world where your energy is directed, what your soul is experiencing, and how your spirit is holding itself together. In the right environment, your smile becomes effortless, like sunlight breaking through an open window. It emerges from a place of safety, connection, and belonging. But in the wrong environment, your smile becomes a survival tactic. You smile to avoid conflict. You smile to keep the peace. You smile to convince yourself that everything is okay. That is not joy, that is emotional restraint. And the more you do it, the more you disconnect from your own truth. People often underestimate how deeply their environment shapes their emotional expression. When you're surrounded by support, appreciation, and genuine kindness, your smile becomes natural. But when you're surrounded by indifference, manipulation, or inconsistency, your smile becomes forced, like performing happiness instead of experiencing it. That disconnect slowly drains you. It teaches you to distrust your own emotions, to silence your discomfort, and to pretend your heart is lighter than it is. Environments that make you fake your smile are environments that suffocate your authenticity. Your smile deserves to be met, reflected, and honored. It deserves to land on faces that appreciate the warmth behind it. Every smile carries a story. Your resilience, your kindness, your patience, your willingness to love. It should never be wasted on people who misunderstand its meaning or take it for granted. When someone truly values you, they don't just enjoy your smile, they protect the conditions that allow it to stay genuine. They contribute to your joy rather than draining it. They understand that your smile is not decoration, it's connection. The most profound shift happens when you stop giving your brightest expressions to your darkest surroundings. You begin to pay attention to how you feel before you smile, not after. You start noticing who draws the smile out of you effortlessly and who forces you to manufacture one. This awareness is powerful because it prevents you from compromising your emotional integrity. Your smile becomes intentional, rooted in sincerity rather than obligation. You stop using it as a shield and start using it as a signal of where your soul feels understood. When you finally accept that your smile must match your environment, you give yourself permission to step away from spaces that dim your joy. You stop apologizing for needing warmth, reciprocity, and emotional nourishment. You realize that your smile is not something you hand out cheaply. It's something you share with people and places that make your spirit feel alive. And in that realization, you reclaim the purity of your smile, not as a performance, but as a truth. The sixth key point is about understanding that rejection is not a verdict on your worth. It is often a redirection that life uses to move you away from what cannot sustain your growth. Many people internalize rejection as a personal flaw, believing they weren't yet good enough, interesting enough, talented enough, or worthy enough. But rejection is rarely a reflection of your lack. It is more often a reflection of misalignment. You were not denied because you were inadequate. You were denied because the space you were trying to enter was too small to hold your potential. Life will shut certain doors not to punish you, but to protect the destiny you haven't fully understood yet. Rejection becomes painful when you view it as the final chapter instead of a necessary pivot. So often, you fight to hold on to people or opportunities simply because you are attached to the idea of what they could have been. But just because something feels familiar doesn't mean it's right. Just because it once brought comfort doesn't mean it can carry your future. When life removes something, it's usually because it has already served its purpose. Holding on won't revive it, it will only delay the arrival of what is meant for you. The emotional sting of rejection fades, but the wisdom it brings can reshape your entire path. Sometimes you are too big for the environment you're trying to fit into. Your ambition, your heart, your creativity, your voice. They may overwhelm people who cannot match your depth. Instead of shrinking to belong, rejection forces you to confront something powerful. You were made for more than the space you were trying to settle into. This realization is uncomfortable at first, but transformative in the long run. You stop trying to win approval from places that were never rooted deeply enough to understand you. You stop adjusting your soul to meet the expectations of those who cannot see your potential. There is also a silent truth in rejection. It reveals what was never truly yours. If someone walks away, if an opportunity collapses, if a path closes, then it was never a foundation you could build your life upon. You cannot lose what is aligned with your purpose. What is meant for you does not require you to beg, chase, or compromise your dignity. Rejection strips away illusions and exposes what lacks stability. It clears your field so something more genuine, more aligned, and more expansive can emerge. In that sense, rejection becomes protection. Even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment, rejection teaches you resilience. It teaches you to stand tall even when external validation disappears. It teaches you to generate confidence from your own belief rather than from someone else's approval. Every time life tells you not here, it is strengthening your ability to say, then I'll go where I'm truly meant to be. That shift from seeking acceptance outwardly to cultivating it inwardly marks the beginning of real transformation. You stop depending on circumstances for your worth. You stop depending on people to decide your value. You step into a self-assurance that rejection cannot touch. And the greatest revelation of all is that rejection is not an end. It is an invitation. An invitation to evolve, to elevate, to explore paths you wouldn't have considered if you had been accepted where you originally wanted to stay. It pushes you to stretch beyond your comfort zone, to grow into the version of yourself that your destiny demands. When you look back, you will realize that what felt like loss was actually liberation. The closed door wasn't a failure, it was a rerouting. It was life guiding you, redirecting you, and positioning you exactly where your purpose is waiting. The seventh key point is about realizing that your peace is sacred, and protecting it is not a luxury, it is a responsibility to yourself, your future, and the life you are building. People often treat peace as if it's optional, something they can prioritize eventually, once everything else settles. But peace is not the reward at the end of your journey, it is the foundation that determines the quality of that journey. Every time you allow chaos, disrespect, or emotional instability to take root in your life, you are signing away pieces of your inner stability. Protecting your peace means refusing to hand your emotional state over to people who don't know how to care for it. Peace is not passive. It is not a soft, quiet emotion reserved for calm days. True peace is powerful. It is the steady inner ground that you stand on when the world around you shakes. It is the clarity that guides your decisions, the anchor that keeps you centered, and the shield that guards your mind from unnecessary battles. When your peace is intact, problems feel manageable, noise loses its influence, and life becomes easier to navigate. But when your peace is compromised, even small conflicts feel overwhelming. You lose perspective, you lose energy, you lose yourself. That's why protecting your peace is not optional, it is essential. Your peace is threatened most when you allow people with chaotic intentions to have too much access to your life. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your mind, your heart, or your time. Some people thrive on confusion, drama, or emotional manipulation. Others drain you unintentionally because they rely on you more than they rely on themselves. Either way, your peace becomes collateral damage. Protecting your peace means recognizing that you can love people deeply while limiting their impact on your inner world. It means understanding that boundaries are not punishments, they are lifelines. Protecting your peace also requires you to stop participating in situations that no longer align with your values. The arguments you don't need to engage in, the explanations you don't need to give, the battles you don't need to win. Each of these is a choice. Not every confrontation deserves your attention. Not every misunderstanding deserves your correction. You begin to realize that peace is preserved not only by what you let in, but also by what you choose not to entertain. Maturity teaches you that silence can be more powerful than proving a point, and walking away can be wiser than winning. Another part of protecting your peace is respecting your emotional capacity. You are not a limitless resource. You cannot support everyone, solve everything, or carry burdens that are not yours. You have emotional limits, mental limits, and energetic limits. Ignoring these limits is one of the fastest ways to destroy your peace. When you overextend yourself, you start running on emptiness. And emptiness breeds irritability, confusion, resentment, and burnout. Protecting your peace means listening to your own signals, resting when you're tired, stepping back when you're overwhelmed, and choosing stillness when your spirit asks for it. Ultimately, protecting your peace means committing to environments and relationships that honor your well-being rather than drain it. It means surrounding yourself with people who bring clarity instead of confusion, warmth instead of tension, and support instead of chaos. It means building a life where your emotional safety is non-negotiable. When you treat your peace as sacred, you naturally elevate your standards because anything that threatens your inner stability is too expensive to keep. Your peace becomes the compass that guides you toward people, places, and decisions that reflect the life you deserve to live. In the end, everything comes down to one powerful truth. Your worth is not determined by where you stand. It is determined by what you refuse to stand for. You were never meant to shrink yourself to fit into places that don't honor you. You were never meant to give your strength to people who treat it like it's disposable. And you were never meant to hide your light just to be tolerated. When you stop smiling where you were not valued, you break the cycle of emotional exhaustion that has held you back for years. You reclaim your voice. You reclaim your energy. You reclaim your identity. And most importantly, you reclaim your peace. That moment when you choose yourself over familiarity, over fear, over attachment, is the moment your entire life begins to shift. Because life responds to your self-respect. It rewards your courage. It multiplies your strength the moment you decide that your joy, your dignity, and your growth are non-negotiable. You stop chasing acceptance and start attracting alignment. You stop fighting for space and start walking into rooms where you belong effortlessly. You stop surviving and start living. You are not here to be tolerated. You are here to be valued. You are not here to beg for worth. You are here to embody it. And you are not here to smile through disrespect. You are here to rise above it. So step into the world with a renewed understanding of who you are and what you deserve. Protect your peace. Honor your energy. Hold your standards high. And remember this. The moment you stop giving yourself to places that don't value you, you finally create space for the places and people that will